in a letter from the White House to Brazil, which is part of the series of letters that Donald Trump is currently sending out, notifying all of the countries around the world of what tariff rate they are now going to be hit with. He's addressed this to the president of Brazil, and he said, "Dear Mr. President, I knew and dealt with former President Jair Bolsonaro and respected him greatly, as did most other leaders of countries. The way that Brazil has treated former President Bolsonaro, a highly respected leader throughout the world during his term, including by the United States, is an international disgrace. This trial should not be taking place. It's a witch hunt that should end immediately," in capital letters. And this refers to the fact that Bolsonaro has now been arrested and is on trial for apparently trying to stop the new president from taking over in 2022 when Bolsonaro lost the vote. He's saying that there was some sort of coup attempt here, and that's why he's on trial. Due in part to Brazil's insidious attacks on free elections and fundamental free speech rights of Americans, as illustrated by the Brazilian Supreme Court, which has issued hundreds of secret and unlawful censorship orders to US social media platforms, threatening them with millions of dollars in fines and eviction from the Brazilian social media market. Starting on August the 1st, 2025, we will charge Brazil a tariff of 50% on any and all Brazilian products sent into the United States, separate from all sectoral tariffs. Goods transshipped to evade this 50% tariff will be subject to that higher tariff. So, a 50% tariff is absolutely massive. And we'll go on later in the video to have a look at what Brazil is exporting to the USA and how important this is to the Brazilian economy. And I can tell you as a heads up, spoiler alert, it's quite important. This is going to have a really big impact on Brazil. In addition, we have had years to discuss our trading relationship with Brazil and have concluded that we must move away from the long standing and very unfair trade relationship engendered by Brazil's tariff and non tariff policies and trade barriers. Our relationship has been, unfortunately, far from reciprocal. We'll have a look at that in a moment. We'll talk about the trade deficit between Brazil and the USA. Please understand that the 50% number is far less than what is needed to have the level playing field we must have with your country. And it is necessary to have this to rectify the grave injustices of the current regime. As you're aware, there will be no tariff if Brazil or companies within your country decide to build or manufacture product within the United States. And in fact, we will do everything possible to get approvals quickly, professionally, and routinely. In other words, in a matter of weeks. So, what he's saying there is that basically the tariff won't apply if you move all of your factories to the USA and build things on US soil. But obviously, that would then discount the benefits to Brazil, because one of the reasons why Brazil wants to export to the USA is obviously it's good for the Brazilian economy. And also, labor is cheaper in Brazil than it is in the USA. So, moving the production to the USA would be more expensive. The letter goes on to say, if for any reason you decide to raise your tariffs, then whatever the number you choose to raise them by will be added onto the 50% that we charge. So basically making it very clear that if Brazil wants to retaliate, then there will be a trade war and the number is going to go up in exactly the same way as happened with China right at the beginning of this tariff process. Please understand that these tariffs are necessary to correct the many years of Brazil's tariff and non tariff policies and trade barriers causing these unsustainable trade deficits against the United States. This deficit is a major threat to our economy and indeed our national security. Additionally, because of Brazil's continued attacks on the digital trade activities of American companies, as well as other unfair trading practices, I'm directing United States Trade Representative Jameson Greer to immediately initiate a Section 301 investigation of Brazil. I think that relates to the fact that recently there's been some court action saying that Donald Trump hasn't been justified in imposing these tariffs. He said that it's in the interest of national security. And there was a question raised as to whether or not tariffs do actually relate to national security. It's not the same as somebody threatening to invade your country. So I think Donald Trump's making it very clear here that he believes that what's going on is in the interests of national security and therefore is within the laws. If you wish to open your heretofore closed trading markets to the United States and eliminate your tariff and non tariff policies and trade barriers, we will perhaps consider an adjustment to this letter. These tariffs may be modified upward or downward depending on our relationship with your country. You will never be disappointed with the United States of America. So you're basically saying there, we will reduce the tariffs as long as you change all of your trading practices, which I think is pretty unlikely in the short term. Now, in terms of the immediate impact of this announcement, this chart shows the exchange rate between the Brazilian real and the US dollar. And as you can see, the value of the real has fallen significantly. It's down by almost 2% just on this announcement. And one of the reasons is because the USA is a really important export market for Brazil. If we have a look at this table, it shows the top 10 exports from Brazil to the USA in 2024. So we've got the value in the first column in billions of US dollars, and then the percentage of Brazil's exports in that category. So you can see that the number one exported product was crude petroleum and petroleum products. Brazil has oil, and so the USA does buy some of it, even though the USA produces its own oil and exports some oil. It basically is buying and selling different types of oil across the world. And in 2024, it bought $8.6 billion worth of oil from Brazil. That represented around about 14% of all of Brazil's exports of oil. Second biggest category is semi finished iron and steel, which was $5.8 billion. And interestingly, that represented 48% of all of Brazil's steel and iron exports. And so the USA is almost half of their market. And that's a problem because, as we just heard in that letter, these tariffs are in addition to any other tariffs. And as was announced at the beginning of June, there is now a 50% tariff on all steel imports into the USA. And this will cover iron and steel. So, in theory, compared to where Brazil was just a couple of months ago, we've now got a 50% tariff specifically on those iron and steel products, and another 50% tariff on all Brazilian imports. So the price of Brazilian imports of iron and steel is going to double into the USA. And obviously, that's going to be a major problem because, from Brazil's point of view, it's half of their export market. It's a really big market. But if the price is doubling in an industry like iron and steel, where everybody is very sensitive to prices, it's likely that the USA is going to look to alternatives. And obviously, one of the things that Donald Trump is trying to promote is US steel. He's trying to make sure, if possible, that people will buy from the US rather than from overseas. So this is going to represent a major threat to those exports, and Brazil may need to find an alternative market for half of its steel. So that's going to be a major issue. Now, if you're in the US and you drink a lot of coffee, I'm sure you've had some Brazilian coffee, whether you know it or not, because Brazil exports almost $2 billion worth of coffee, and that's in all forms. So some of it has been roasted, some of it's in the green form, so it's going and it needs to be processed. And that represents around 30% of all of Brazil's coffee exports. And if you're interested in coffee, I thought it was worth having a quick look at this breakdown, which shows the top 10 countries that the US is importing coffee from. And you can see that Brazil is actually number one on this chart with almost $2 billion worth. And that represents around about 25% of the market. So it's a really big relationship. And obviously, coffee is massive. Everybody loves coffee. And Brazil is where the US is getting the biggest share of it from. If we just canter through the rest of this, you can see Colombia is number two on this list. Switzerland, interestingly, number three. Canada, Guatemala, Honduras, Vietnam, Peru, Mexico, and then we've got everybody else at the bottom. And from Brazil's point of view, as we just discussed, 30% of all of its coffee exports are going to the USA. Now, coffee is a really good example of something where there is elasticity of price. So, when we talk about demand, we have inelastic and elastic products. So, inelastic demand relates to things where basically you will keep paying for it, whatever the price is. So, yeah, as an example of that, I guess medicines is a good example that if you need a certain type of medicine, maybe you need it to survive or to make your life comfortable. And the price of that medicine goes up, then you're likely to still want to buy it, despite the fact that it's more expensive. Because if there is no alternative option, then and you want it, then you will pay basically whatever price it goes to.
Here's how a doctor treats toenail fungus without a prescription. If your toenail fungus came back after using tea tree,
Whereas elastic demand is basically something where it will stretch that you just think, actually, I don't really care. So Brazilian coffee, I think, is a good example that if you're a coffee lover, now you might love Brazilian coffee, it might be your favorite blend. But if it goes up by 50% in price, then you may think, actually, I don't mind having a bit of Colombian or Ecuadorian or whatever it might be, because it's not really that much different. So the demand for Brazilian coffee, I think, is very elastic. That if the price goes up, it's likely that people will just go to alternative options.
Most people don't realize that this is one of the healthiest superfood you can eat. This isn't your typical supermarket brand. This is natural catch yellowfin tuna and organic extra virgin olive oil, premium sushi grade tuna packed in the finest extra virgin olive oil from Spain's best vineyard. More protein than chicken, loaded with omega 3s for heart and brain. Health boosts energy and supports weight loss. Rich in vitamin D and B12 for strong bones.
Like it, go back, pick another one, and grow it. And then you'll have that type of lemon and it won't cost you no money. What's up, Chad? Yeah, those are two things I wanted to bring up. First, that BRICS is going to go away, and for not many, every country that joined BRICS on top of BRICS is getting a 50% tariff. So how long will those countries who have to deal with America stay with BRICS? So the first things that happen is the Egypt and the Ethiopia and all those other countries will leave BRICS, and then BRICS will fall apart because the B in BRICS is going to fall apart. The S in BRICS is going to fall apart. The C in BRICS is going to fall apart. The I in BRICS is going to leave. And that's only going to leave the R in BRICS. So that's the future of BRICS. What's up, Gerald? Yeah, I didn't finish eating it yesterday, so I went ahead and put it up here today. I could, let's see, what else could I do? Oh, I could put some duck up. You like duck? And goose, excuse me, that's goose, cooked goose. Your goose is cooked. Or we could do the traditional American favorite, pizza. And my cats are being stupid. I can hear it already. And if you don't like pizza, this is one of my favorites. Bacon. Yeah, duck is good. Of course, that picture was not representative of one duck. It was probably 3 because that was a lot of meat, and duck aren't that big. That's those are some nice looking fillets. So the picture's bad quality, but I don't know. It might be 2 ducks. Oh yeah, Hager, definitely bacon for the win, baby. Bacon, bacon, bacon. Bacon does a body good. But anyhow, there's a couple of things I wanted to talk about. And oh yeah, Gerald, I just put a squeeze on my union hall, forcing them to get me a job ASAP because they broke HIPAA law against me at that last job I was at, and I just informed them of it, and they're scrambling right now. So they just called during the live stream. And that silence was brought to you by a 15-minute inhale of a weed. A weed, not weed, but weed. Yeah, I don't like squeezing people, but when organizations get out of hand, you got to slap them every now and then. And if they broke the, they did, they know they fucked up. But even better for me, the job I was at Lawrence Livermore, which is about 5 gallons of gas round trip a day, which out here is $25, and on a 5-day work week would have cost me $125 just in gas. Yes, he does. And I just, again, was off the phone, and he said that there's this one company that's going to be doing something in Oakland in a couple weeks, and they're going to require 40 iron workers. And going down to Oakland and back will only cost me $15 a day in gas, so I can save $50 a week in gas because the job's closer. Here, can you hear it, Haggard? Trying to pass it through the screen, baby. Here, I'll even let you see me trying to pass it. See, it's knocking the screen out. I'm trying to pass it to you, baby. It's a good bowl, too. It's a psychedelic bowl. Here you go. But since I can't do that, I'll give you a virtual hit while taking a real hit to virtually give it to you. Hold on. I'm going to take the real hit and pass the virtual one. Man, by the way, the plants are looking real righteous. That might give me... No, I don't know. Maybe. I don't know. Yeah. I built a couple high rises in Oakland. Those boys don't scare me nuns. They don't fuck with iron workers. Oh, it's very good stuff. I grew it myself. As a matter of fact, let me see if I can't real quickly take this live stream. No, I'm not going to try that. That'll probably fuck my shit up. I'll do another garden tour and show my tomatoes so you'll be able to see the plants. And YouTube had a talking to me about the last garden tour I did showing my tomato plants. They were like, yeah, you had tomato plants, canis lilies, and weed. I was like, I only talked about the canis lilies and the tomatoes, dude. I didn't mention the weed at all. It was just there. Nothing wrong with that. I wasn't promoting it. And I got away with it. But they were not happy. But I'll do it again because they weren't happy. Because I'm not happy with him quite a lot. Carlos, what's up? You are actually seeing a non-kitty cat video. Holy cow, Carlos, I'm glad you get to enjoy this. Unfortunately, the informational part of it for the video informational part's over. Throughout discussions in this remaining of the video, information might not be passed. I do not know. We talk about whatever after the videos are over because YouTube was kind of stutter stepping my live stream, causing lots of breaks in service. So I changed up from the political video to growing lemon trees from lemons, and it seems like it helped the stream a little bit, not be so glitchy. Ninja experiences similar problems. Bacon, 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 baby. Bacon, bacon, bacon. Carlos is the chef, by the way. Gerald, you and Carlos ought to hook up. He used to own a restaurant as well. Gerald Draper, he's in the chat here, a million. He owned a couple restaurants as well. Seems like I know a lot of people who are professional chefs. And I don't cook. Probably why I know a lot of chefs. I eat well and don't cook. I was telling this guy when I was in Hawaii back in 2019, November and December, I was having the #1 sushi chef on the island of Hawaii cook for me every night for 28 days straight. The whole time I was there, every night for dinner. He'd shut his restaurant down because it was like a lunch type restaurant at a country club, a golf country club. And he'd have his night people come in. He was older, so he'd run the day shift, and he'd let this family members, someone run the night shift for him there. And he'd come up back to where we were staying. And because I was staying with him, well, he cooked for me. It was pretty cool. Excuse me. As you can tell, I got another cat meowing in the other yard. I can tell from that meow, it's Chloe. And she always meows when she wants her kitties to come back and hang out with her. But anyhow, let's see. Everybody eats indeed. I actually like sauerkraut on my hot dogs. It's got that soury twang. It's aggressive, but I can handle a little bit of it. See, now Gerald's showing me real bacon. Okay, I got to show you guys this because Mr. Chef sent the pictures of what real bacon looks like. Oh shit, hold on. There we go. That's shit, sorry. Come on. Flip right. There we go. Look at all that bacon Gerald's cooking up. Man, everyone party at Gerald's house. That's your fault, Gerald. Now we're all coming to your house to eat bacon. Party at Gerald's. Day old chili is good. So is day old pizza. Yeah, and that's another thing. That job down in Lawrence, the solar panel job, it's more in the valley part, the drier, hotter part of the Bay Area. It's the eastern part. And Tuesday or Wednesday when I went out there, they were expecting it to be 103 degrees. So they'll have several days where it's probably 120 out there. So I won't have to deal with working that because Oakland's right on the bay. The temperature's always 20 to 30 degrees cooler than the Central Valley. So it'll be a nicer work environment. So God does work in mysterious ways. And quite frankly, that company's going to want to, that solar panel company's going to call me back anyhow, because all these young kids nowadays can't handle working in the heat, and they're all going to fall out, and they're not going to have enough iron workers out there. It's going to be like usual. They're going to call the good old boys who always get the freaking job done, who they crap on all the time when they don't need us. And they say, guys, we need you to load up on this job because they're not getting it done fast enough out there. Yeah, I actually called. This is to both Gerald and a million restaurant tips knows Travis as well. I gave him a call, asked him to say a prayer for me to get a job, and he did. And I'm probably going to get that good job because of it. People who don't love bacon are crazy and need to be in mental institutions. Bacon is one of the most awesomest foods out there. And even it's hard to overcook. You can overcook bacon. I have had it way too crispy, but in that case, you just add it to, red beans and rice, and it softens back up, and you got yourself some red beans, rice, and bacon. So you can't even really overcook it. You just have to. If you overcook it, you have to change the dish you're going to be offering it in. But yeah, bacon's pretty much a go-to food for me, man. I love bacon. I like it on the crispier side rather than on the not so crispy side. I always stop off this place, and I'll do that when I go back to work, because in the Bay Area there's 56 cities, and for me to get to Oakland, I've got to drive through like 8 or 9 cities just back to back, side by side. You can't even tell where they separate when they start. Actually, I don't even know where one is because I don't think the property lines of the city actually run through the highway. They're just what would that be? They're to the east of the highway is where their city limits in, so it's not even visible from the highway. But all of them have like Nation's burgers, so you can call in advance, call in an order. And after a hard day's work, I like calling in, ordering 2 BLTs with that extra bacon. And I'll stop by. They'll have the order ready. I'll go and pay for it. Hop back out, ride my car, get in that rush hour traffic that goes 2 miles an hour, and munch out of some double BLTs. You can never lose with bacon. Bacon, bacon, bacon. I actually had a military friend of mine in Special Ops. His name was Greg Bacon. Bacon on pizza, dude. Canadian bacon. As a matter of fact, hold on a second here. Virtual background. Let's go back to where's that one at? That one there. Those triangle things you see right in the picture, right beside the pepperonis. That's not sauce coming through. That's Canadian bacon. I love my pizzas with bacon on it too, baby. It's just not that kind of bacon. It's Canadian bacon. Hey, what's up, Jay? Guardians of the Galaxy was a good movie. I like the playlist of the lead actor in that movie. He had that 60s and 70s playlist. That was actually pretty good music. Ginger, they know you're here, girl. Yeah, Kevin Bacon's a good actor. Quiet. But anyhow, I just wanted to bring you that story about BRICS because I was watching it. I was like, man, I told people about this. And also another thing about that, with these tariffs on other countries, it means that new trade agreements and treaties will be signed. And I said over a year ago for a couple of my live streams and on several channels that the new charts are going to be treaties and trade agreements. And that report from Joe Blog proved me right. No, I mean, I already knew it. I didn't need to be proven right. I knew it. That's why I said it, because I knew it was going to come to pass. Bacon is part of the Kitco diet. I knew a girl that ate bacon and eggs only, and she lost 40 pounds. You know, and that's the funny thing about it. It's metabolism. Everyone's metabolism's different, and you metabolize food differently. And the way people have been taught about weight loss isn't that way. It's about pills or do this exercise, neither of which are really effective if you want to actually maintain a weight loss. You need to find out what your metabolism is and what your body, how your body reacts to the foods based off of your metabolism. They actually have a gut bacteria that a lot of thin people have that actually keeps them thin. They can't gain weight, and it's actually a bacteria in the gut. So there's a lot about weight loss that they don't tell because they want to sell a product, a service, or a gym membership, none of which you need if you find out the truth. You know, Jay, God love you. I wasn't going to say that, but yeah, it's actually fecal bacteria matter in the lower intestines. But I went ahead and said it was a gut bacteria. But yeah, you seem to know exactly what I'm talking about. But I didn't want to. I didn't want to be the first one to say it. But yeah, and you do have that option. You can take, like, if you have a mother and a daughter, and the daughter's chunky and stays chunky and doesn't know why, and the mother's thin and eats the same thing as the daughter. Basically, it is a lower intestinal bacteria or a fecal matter bacteria that keeps the people thin, and you can do a transplant into the chunkier people, and they will naturally become thin. No shit. Yeah. You know, yeah, not too many people think about that, Chad. And hey, check this out. They'd go to eat, they'd get like the 5 double cheeseburgers and the Diet Coke. And it turns out now, after Kennedy gets in office, that actually the Diet Cokes and the Diet Pepsis and the diets are worse for you than the non-diets. So not only would they be eating the 5 double cheeseburgers and trying to lose weight by eating or drinking the diet soda is actually killing their insides. Exactly, Joe. It's all in how you process it. I mean, every person has a different metabolism. And as we get more into blood types, I think they'll probably end up finding or categorizing, if they have not already, for I have not checked, but like if you have a blood type A or B or whatever, I believe there'll be breakdowns of subsections depending on whatever else is in the blood that's different from other type A's, and they're going to start breaking it down more like that. Yes, exactly. It's a gut microbiome in the lower intestine, also known as a fecal bacteria. No, you want to know what makes gorillas so big, and you want to know why their brains are so small? I know exactly why. Exactly right. The reason why gorillas are so big and so muscular, for the same basic size and height as a human, and they're not as intelligent as us, there's been a scientific studies done on this. I've done research on this, guys. I know. Okay, when I was in middle school and shit, I did my book reports were on great whites, orcas, silverback gorillas, and the elephant. They were my three main interests. I actually wanted to be a zoologist back then. And I found out the mandible, the jaw muscle that holds the jaw, the lower jaw to the upper jaw. If you tighten your teeth together, you'll feel a little muscle right at the base of where your upper and lower jaw meet, in the back towards your right in front of your ear. And that small little muscle determines if you're intelligent or stupid. Because on the silverback or the great apes, that muscle is severely larger than on humans. And what that does is it constricts the cranium from expanding, and it causes the brain to stay small. So if gorillas wanted to evolve into having a bigger brain and possibly having more cognitive functions and using their thumbs more properly, they would have to lower the size of that mandible muscle, that jaw muscle, so that their brain, when it formed, it wouldn't be pulled in so much by having such a large jaw muscle, because that jaw muscle is hooked up to those other muscles. Basically, they don't give themselves the brain capacity to grow because of the muscle in their mouth. Kind of weird, huh? But I know that. I guess my teacher was right. One day I'd use that information. I was like, when the fuck's anyone gonna fucking care about this shit? And I guess now's the time. Yeah, because their whole body and their metabolism is set for muscle. And that's why their brain's so small. And we are supposedly a part of their genius or their family throughout. If you believe in the we came from apes theory, we're supposedly from them, and because of that, we're an evolved organism of what they are to what they could be if they evolved smaller muscles. Because that's what's keeping the brain small and keeping them stupid. Although, having said that, crows are damn smart, and they have a small pea brain too. But for the size of the bird, their brains significantly percentage-wise larger than gorillas. Because I believe 3, 4, 5, 600 pound for a silverback, depending on when you capture, what age you capture them at. And I don't think a crow gets over 3 or 4 pounds. They got all kinds of monkeys. They got these monkeys in India. Their defense mechanism when humans are around is actually throwing their poop at you. There's a whole section of Indian countryside, and I guess it's some tourist areas too, because people get whacked with that stuff. These little tree monkeys, little small, about bamboo size. Actually, probably, I think they're called. Don't quote me. I think they're called the spider monkey, but I'm not 100% sure on that. But they'll actually throw their feces at you. Yeah, that's how they keep critters away from their territory, and it works. You got to give it to them. It works. You know, as long as you're eating, you always got a weapon. and definitely animals don't like getting hit by dung, so they stay away from your territory. It's a very effective, primitive yet effective technique, and also it's a form of marking. The large cats definitely mark their territory with urine scents, and so I believe do wolves and other carnivorous beasts of burden. That's funny, Jeffro. But anyhow, yeah, I'm gonna cut this off. We've been on it about an hour. I did definitely want to let you guys keep, because I've noticed no one's talking about BRICS, saying BRICS for the win, and I was seeing a lot of those comments over the past year or two, where they're like bricks and gold for the win. And I was like, wow, if you people only actually, and that's how I knew they didn't know what the heck they were talking about. Yeah, it is Red Fox, Mo Silver. I knew they didn't know what the hell they were talking about. So every now and then I'd confront them so I could bofangle them with facts and bullshit and hear their bullshit retorts. Oh, and for this is off the wall subject. Scientists for generations have misrepresented orca species, and because of the reviving and relooking at the science, they have determined that there is another subspecies of orca that actually is aggressive and will attack you. But they still want to attack humans. But the other orcas definitely won't attack you. And these orcas are the ones that they thought were just solo orcas, but they're actually a species of orca. And they actually are more like a catfish. They're kind of sort of bottom feeders. And when they do come up, it's the ones that eat the livers off of sharks. That orca is like a cousin to the orcas that we've seen jumping out of the water and stuff like that. Because the orca that is the predatory orca is from pods that don't surface that often. I mean, they stay more at the bottom, and then they come up, get air, and they go straight to the bottom, where the other orca pods will stay at the top and play around and stuff. And they're very similar, but there's enough scientific difference between the pods that they've reclassified and come up with a new orca pod, a new species of orca, I believe. I don't know if it's called species, but a new type of orca that we've always known about. It's just we didn't recognize the differences enough to realize that it was a separate species of orca. That scientific information just came out. The alternative, hold on, the alternative to SWIFT. I'll tell you what the alternative to SWIFT is. That's the alternative to SWIFT right there, brother. It's also the alternative to BRICS. It will be, if BRICS survives or until BRICS goes away, BRICS will have their international or their trade transactional system. The SWIFT will probably renovize itself, modernize itself, and whatever, and it'll have its system. But that ISO 222 is an intermediate system that the BRICS countries can use, the SWIFT countries can use, and they can also use it to go between each other in case of any embargo type stuff, or it's a medium of exchange that breaches the gap. XRP is part of that. I think it's XRP, XLM, Algo, HBAR. Wow. Hey, Gerald, help me out. Which ones are there? Okay, Jay, you know about it. Yeah, HBAR, XLM, XRP. There was another one. I actually gave a list, I think, about a week ago of the ones that I know of that are compliant. But I still like ZBCN. Let me put that down there for y'all to see. I think that's going to be the credit card of the future myself, personally. Yes, Algo. I didn't mention that in the second time I mentioned it. Yes, Algo. Because then I knew that 8 years ago, bro. When I was actually into crypto, because I'm not into crypto now because I got hacked like 8 years ago and lost several thousands of dollars. And I knew that XLM, Stellar, and Algo had signed a contract with the Treasury Department to come up with a stable coin, the US dollar stable coin, and went down that road. And I kept telling people, and this is where I got chastised by the crypto community. I was like, technically, they're not crypto because they've got government contracts. And I also found out ADA Cardano had a contract with Ethiopian government's Department of Education. And for the past 8 years, they've been tracking the education scores of students for a new style of banking that's going to be coming out here shortly based off of your educational performance. That standard will be used in different countries, not in America, because we're like real dumb fucks over here. But they're going to first start using that system. And Cardano ADA is, because it's not gone up as much as it should, they've actually been bankrolling a lot of capital so that they can be a bank and give out student loans to students in Ethiopia based off of their educational scores. And they signed a contract with the Department of Education in Ethiopia like 7 years ago to do that. So they're actually not a crypto either. So I always knew they were going to be stable. And ZDCN, they're hooked up with MasterCard, and MasterCard's been number 2 to Visa for about 15 years or so. And those companies, just like the car companies, when they do their platinum and palladium switch for their catalytic converters, they always switch every 10 years is what it used to be until the manipulation of platinum started. It used to be about a 10-year contract. They get palladium, then they get platinum the next decade, and then they go back. But that ended 7 years ago. Yeah, I think MasterCard is setting themselves up with this digital overlay of our economy to try and overtake Visa as the number 1 credit system or credit card. And they are backing in ZBCN, and lots of countries are signing on board because of that collaboration with MasterCard and ZBCN. So I see it as a future MasterCard of the digital and regular economies, because it's a MasterCard, but it's also a ZBEC MasterCard, so you can use it digitally. Now, at least that's what I perceive with that one. Oh, I'm sure there's some others. I just saw that one and I heard about it, and I'm weird. Okay, the way my brain works, I see shit, and there's like one that stands out for some reason. I don't know what, and I'll just stick with that one because for some reason I trust my gut. You know, you throw 3 or 4 names at me, I see a little bit of information on all of them, and I go with my gut on most of. If I have to choose which one to choose, so I have I've always kind of sort of gone with that, and that's what led me into doing a little research on more on ZBCN than any of the competition that they'll have, because it was of greatest impact to me as far as wanting to learn more about it, because it looked like it was a good thing, and nothing's disappointed me yet, other than world adoption, but that's the time thing. Theta is one too, yeah, good call. Sorry about that. I've heard of both. Atom, it's been around. If that's the same one I know of, it's been around for a couple halvings. The IBC, I'm not sure of, but I have. If Atom's the same Atom, they change names over every halving. Some companies do. I mean, like right now, I think there's like 10,300 crypto. There's only going to be like 300 of them after the halving, because most of them will either be absorbed or consumed by, if they're good projects, they'll be absorbed or consumed. And most of them aren't good projects, and they'll just go away. They're just here to consume money and make everyone make the crypto universe look bad and stall the adoption period and whatever naturally comes when you do switchovers or overlays of economies. It never works smoothly. Oh, okay. I'm sorry, I misinterpreted. I'm sorry, I thought you said Theta was, or I interpreted you put down because it was separate from the first two. Yeah, no, there's going to be others, just like in the credit card system that we have now, the debt system. You have Visa, MasterCard, American Express, and Discover Card. And they're always fighting for either 2 and 3 or 3 and 4, because Visa's been number 1. With the new economy, it's a new playing field, so there's going to be competition for 1, 2, 3, and 4. So there are going to be others, and they will do good. I just and ZBEC might not be the biggest. I mean, I don't know. I don't know the future. It's just I went with my gut. I saw it, I heard it, I heard about it. I was like, I liked everything I heard. I did some more research. For what I understand, I don't totally understand the newer. Like I said, I was in crypto like 8 years ago. I was in it pretty heavy. Obviously, I get into everything heavy. But over 8 years, the shit's changed. Technology's changed. Everything's changed. So I'm not current on anything. And I've been into other shit, not real interested in getting to know it, because it is very fluid and changes a lot. And if you're not on top of it, you're behind it. And I know I won't be able to stay on top of it. So I stay on top of things that I know I can get on top of and stay on top of. Not that I don't invest in it. Obviously, I do. But is it still glitchy? Yeah, I've glitched a couple times. And to show that I'm into all asset classes, Y'all know me for saying that one. Yeah, here I am talking about crypto, and I'll throw out some stocks too because I'm looking at that, and I'll give you the reasons why I like the stocks that I'll tell you if you want. I've already told you about them a couple live streams ago, and I had a couple of my subscribers come back in. I gave William a call on one of the Rolls Royce companies about around 3 years ago, and he's up 1,300%. What about palladium? I've never really looked at palladium. I mean, I have, but it didn't interest me. It is a platinum groups metal, but you got to understand it being that it's platinum groups metal, it's not platinum, and platinum is the actual use case metal for the newer technologies coming up. And I have not researched into palladium to see if it can fill the gap of what platinum does, like it does in the catalytic converters. They switch from platinum and palladium. I don't think these newer technologies, like these engines that China's going to be building, I don't think they can use palladium. So I think we're at a technological level to where our minerals, even though like they got 4 classifications for the platinum group metals, only platinum is the useful one in the technologies that are going to be released. Iridium, palladium, and the other one aren't that highly used. There will be some use case for them. I'm not saying there's not going to be a use case for them, but the major use case one is platinum. So that's the one I've been concentrating on. I would, it's going to go up too, dude. Matter of fact, I've never looked at a palladium chart. I'm going to pull up a palladium chart right now. I'll look at it and see if there's any interest there. Here we go. See if Yahoo Finance has a nice chart. It's taking a while to load. It better be a nice chart. And it's taking a while to load. All right, I'm going to try something else. That one's taking too long to load. Interactive historical chart. Here we go. All right, let me go back here and share screen. Share screen, platinum price. No, I don't want to open. Get out of there. Get out of there. This is when, look at, oh my God. Holy shikamunga, man. Damn. Are you guys seeing this? Let me get this on full screen so you can actually see this. Holy cow. Look right there at the end. Look at that jump up and down and up and down and up and down. And oh my God. What's up, JM? Okay, yeah, like I said, Chad, thank you for bringing it to my attention, man. I'm shocked. Look at that chart. Are you guys seeing all that blue on the far right? You could probably take 10. Let's see. Let me get back here where I can get a better look. You could take easy 10 years of this chart, squeeze it from September here of 2024 back to 2008, squeeze it together, and you wouldn't get as much action as you got here from July 8th of 2025 to June 30th of 2025. I don't know if it's down to $116 or if it's up to $1,028 or if it's down to $958 or if it's down to 34. Holy cow. You see how it jumped in price? 93. Holy shit. This thing's been all over the place. Is that just, if you guys could pull up a chart, this is very interesting. Holy cow. Holy cow. There's some serious volatility going on there, guys. I mean, look at that chart. Tell me that's not volatile as hell. That's like an erupting volcano with an earthquake and a tornado and a fucking ice storm. Holy shit. Actually, I don't know if I won in that market. But I don't know. Yeah. No. Yeah. Buy. When it drops down, buy. You're supposed to run into the fire. Oh, it is wrong? See, okay. Thank you very much. Thank you, Mo Silver. That shit was tripping me out, man. You heard me. I was tripping out on that chart. I was like, what the fuck? Let's see who's got it wrong. This is macro trends, because they said they had a historical price chart. So I chose them. Let's see. Let's try data set. I tried Yahoo. It didn't load. Let's go to Kitco. 24-hour chart, but I don't want a 24-hour chart. I want a long-term chart. Okay, wow, here we go. All time. Oh, wow. Yeah, we can't do all time. Let's do 5-year. Damn. Hey, JM, you still here? Yeah, these, I'm not pulling up a palladium chart. If JM's still here, I'll get him to, I did back it up, and I kept backing it up, and it wouldn't give me a long-term outlook. It would drop it down to like a 2-day outlook and not the long-term chart. Yeah, I don't know how. Oh, there is. Did I not do that? I'm sure I did that. I just didn't post it. Ah, okay. No, I did. I just didn't post it. That's what it was, JM. It's right there. I didn't pin it, shall I say. Excuse me. My bad. Sorry, guys. One thing I forgot. Yeah, I'm having problems with that palladium chart. Yahoo won't load. I don't know. I'm not good at this shit. But now I've got a twinkling of interest in looking at palladium if I can ever figure out how. I want to know what happened with that chart. Oh, copper's flying, bro.
Good morning, America.
Yeehaw.
How's it going?
For the real life events that have happened to me, actually pretty good.
Very cool. Yeah, I heard something happened. The union screwed you over again, but I didn't get the whole story.
This is where knowledge is power, guys. Iron workers are supposed to be stupid grunt heads. You know, we're not supposed to be smart. I understand what HIPAA law is, and I understand how it's supposed to work. And what happened on the job is they were talking about a drug test, and I was like asking questions because I wanted to know if the medical marijuana would get me past it, because the medical marijuana that now introduces HIPAA laws because it's medical marijuana. And then I called the hall and I asked them about it. And then within 5 minutes of me calling the hall, the foreman, who was not even, I mean, it was an outside solar panel job. He had to come like 300 yards. It took him like 10 minutes on his little cart to get there. Comes in and starts asking, hey, is there an iron worker having problems with his drug test? So that means the hall was talking about my HIPAA information, and someone at the hall called the foreman, and the foreman went into the office with me and 7 other people, not knowing that he shouldn't be talking about it because it was not information he was given in a proper manner to be able to do what he did. But he brought up, is anyone having a problem with the drug test, in front of 6 other people that weren't part of the Ironworkers Union or that I even knew. And I have a medical marijuana card, so I'm thinking there's HIPAA laws that apply. And they just blew the fuck out of all of them. So, and actually during this live stream, my BA called and I took 3 or 4 minutes to explain to him what position they're in and that I wanted a freaking job. And he said, we are working our ass off to get you one, Neil, and I'll find out what the hell happened. But that happened about 15 or 20 minutes ago. So you know, it depends on, that's why I say it's your perspective. I could be, oh, fuck, they fucked me. Or I could try and see a positive and try and make it work for me. You can either overcome or have it overcome you. You know, those are problems. True. It's all in how you perceive it. Perception is reality. That's why I'm always positive. That's why on your show, I always say I win, even though I've never won. Because I'm not talking about the game. I'm talking about my participation. You know, that makes me a winner. It's like DEI crap, but psychologically, and it's actually good for you, not actual DEI crap. Yeah. You're building up your own inner self to be more confident by saying you're a winner all the time.
So I mainly joined the panel here. I just wanted to clarify on that palladium chart. I do believe that this one is accurate, but as always, guys, especially if you're trading or you're making investment decisions, make sure you check a couple different spots to verify. So this one here, I just did a Google search on palladium price chart, and this was the first one that came up. I do believe this one's accurate. Their maximum goes back to February of 2012 when it was 703, when as high as 3,000, and it's taken a big beating. It's dropped more than 50%. So that being said, I also wanted to just go back quickly to this other chart that you had earlier. This is the one that you had for macro trends, right?
Yep.
So one thing, macro trends is a little glitchy. I've noticed their copper chart sometimes is not right. And nickel, if you go to commodities, their nickel chart is frequently wrong too. But in any case, see here where it says show recessions and log scale.
Uh-huh.
Log scale is logarithmic. And so that's why on this axis here, it's not spaced equally, right? It's going up by increments. Yeah. So anytime when it gives me that, I always uncheck that. Oops. So now that they're all evenly spaced, it's a little bit easier to see it easily. But this is clearly not right, because when we look at the 6 month, it's saying here that on the daily, it's trading up and down between $100 and $100. So they've got inaccurate data in there.
Well, at least we're getting an education on how to determine if you have a good chart or looking at a bad chart. Because I knew that just blew me away when I saw that to the right. I was like, holy cow.
I think it's accurate up until here.
Yeah, about there. Yeah.
Which is still quite a ways ago. Yeah, that's still quite some time ago. But so that's it for that. We'll get rid of that one. Put it back on here.
Yeah, and looking at that one, I'd say palladium would probably be a good long-term buy if you had the extra money and we weren't in a economic scenario that we're in right now where actual cash on hand would be better spent on shorter-term investments.
Yeah.
For gain, I mean, and then after this time period that we're in right now is over, and also the Economic Ninja mentioned this. You make percentage-wise, there are more millionaires on the markets made during recessions and depressions than in good times. You just got to know how to look at the market and how it actually works, and you can really make money on downturn markets. A lot of people make good money on downturn markets if you know how to work them. What's up, C4?
And hey, Jeffro as well, and everybody.
But yeah, it looks like palladium is a good longer-term buy until it goes into its like a gold, precious. I don't. Why would it not run with precious metals? This is interesting. I don't know. I gotta ask more questions and get answers.
I think that there's significantly less industrial application. There's less bullion application. It's considered to be more fringe.
We still, though, at the same time have a U.S. American Eagle minted by the Mint. That's palladium. I think it came out 2 or 3 years ago, which means they have some indicator of something about it because they made an official minted U.S. coin out of it.
Yeah,
and that's always been of interest to me as well.
Well, I do remember during the last metals spike, the last time when silver really jumped and almost went to 50, it was palladium that was the clear winner. So I suspect what we're typically going to be seeing is gold runs first, then silver, then platinum, and then palladium. But each one is likely to run up more than the previous on a percentage basis. That's just off the top of my head what I think based on the past.
And based off the past, you're 100% correct. And that's why I've said both gold and silver and platinum have not been playing by the rules because of Basel III's enactment July 1st or July 1st of 2025. That was the first period of start of enactment of Basel III, when central banks had to go from like 10% holdings from anywhere to 22 or 27% of actual physical gold holdings. So what happens when, without any bull market run or anything, what would happen with gold if all 187 central banks of the world started buying, over doubling their supply of gold? The price would skyrocket, correct? Because, price demand, more buyers, price goes up till they stop buying, then you find your price target and they keep buying at that price target. That's at least the way business is taught. And I think that's the reason why gold has been going up. It hasn't been because of the natural gold cycle. And the reason why platinum is running before silver is because of the manipulation cycle just got broke by Clean Earth Metals in your country of Canada, because until it started producing platinum out of the ground, all platinum was all of the industrial use and the majority of the platinum on this planet was made by BRICS countries, Russia and South Africa. But now Canada's added in, and anytime countries have a total manipulation or total price or total control of a mineral or an element, they have what's known as price control. So they control the price.
That's right.
Now they do not control the price. And that's why the reason platinum is going up. It's not part of a gold and silver and bull market run. It's because the manipulation's ending. And for gold, I think the price has gone up, not just because of the bull run, but more because of central banks mass purchasing. And that just stopped July 1st. And Yahoo Finance actually put something out on the 5th saying that in the first couple of days of July, they noticed a tremendous slowdown in central banks gold buying. And if you've noticed, no one's talked about central banks buying gold, and the price of gold stopped going up. So I don't think it's this precious market bull run. I think there's anomalies in this one.
And I think there's multiple levels of manipulation that are going on.
Yeah.
One is in the derivatives market, and that's price manipulation. Another one, I think, is in the media, which is psychological manipulation, right? And then
very much so.
Then there's also the physical, and like, as I think most of us here, I don't even want to say. I was going to say identify as stackers. It's really the physical that we care about. Although I wouldn't be surprised if there's some traders in here, but like, to me, I'd be really, really careful trading the paper markets. Don't forget, we saw oil being traded and it went into negatives.
Yeah.
Which literally means they're paying you to take it.
I was going to buy some oil until I found out I had to have a place to store it. When it was like negative $5 a barrel, I was like, "Ooh, God, there's some money to be made here. I wish I had some storage."
That's right. That is right. I stack paper contracts. There's Jay.
Well, there's money in that too, dude.
It's called toilet paper, right? So, and there's people stacking toilet paper. I remember having a conversation with one of my buddies back, when like all the shelves were bare, and like, yeah. I remember distinctly going to one of my customers' place. I do dog walking for a living. And I said, "Hey, how's it going?" And, two of the family members were there, and they were kind of looking at me with their eyes bugging out. And they're like, "Not good. We ran out of toilet paper. We can't find any anywhere." And so I went home, grabbed some, and came back and gave them like a 6-pack of toilet paper.
Right on.
So I was having a conversation with my buddy about that and saying, like, right now you could have a full-size van full of toilet paper and just go around to the supermarkets, put a big old sign on the thing, $5 a roll.
Yep.
And you would have been able to sell it back then
easily. Yeah, no, that's an entrepreneurial thing to do.
But yeah, that's how I look at paper contracts. You just never know when they're going to pull the rug.
Well, you brought up a good point, because I follow my Nana, my Papa, and my grandparents' example. Their pantry, they always had months of supplies of stuff that would run out. But that was, they were older, so obviously the supply chains weren't as good way back then. And I just continued their principle of have extra of everything. And actually, special operations are like 2 is 1, 3 is 2, 1 is none. I always go off of that type principle. But
What is that? What is that?
what do you mean? The 2 is 1, 1 is none? Oh, that means if I have a weapon and I have 2 magazines, I only have 1 because you're going to use 1, so you only have 1 extra.
Gotcha.
And it's in everything. So for medical supplies, oh, well, I've only got 1, leg wrap. So you get 2, you still only have 1 because you're going to use 1. That'll only leave you 1.
Gotcha.
So you're prepared. You got to be prepared. So if you think you're going to use 2, get 4. If you think you're going to use 4, get 8. That's the psychology of that statement.
Hey, deplorable Kulak.
Hey, deplorable. I break it on down, call him deplorable Hulk.
Okay. The first couple times I saw that
That's
profile
why
name, I was thinking Gulag.
Oh, gulag, deplorable gulag. Okay, I could see that.
But yeah, obviously that's not what it is.
Yeah, what Chad said. If you have 1 of something, you have nothing.
Gotcha.
It's that mindset, and that's not a stacker. That's a I have a pantry. It's a mindset that every American should have. And my position is that's just like your pantry thought process. Now, if I had a stacker or a prepper kind of thought process, I would have already built myself a basement and had a lot of extra everything, and 10s and 20s of it, because that's what you do when you prep. You get extra.
Yep. Especially if you've got a good community and you're building community. You want to think of that, or friends and family. Not everybody's fully prepped. So you want to have extras for people that you care about that maybe are a little bit negligent. They'll if shit hits the fan, they'll thank you in spades.
All right, guys, keep the chat clean. Everyone has different asset classes, and every one of them there is a play to convert from one to another if you're knowledgeable about the asset class plays that you are working. I see the names in this chat. I see successful traders, investors, and people, not all on the same page of it, but all successful in what they do. So we might have differences in opinions of asset class trades or arbitrages or whatever, but I can guarantee you the person who's doing it knows what they're doing and believes highly that they will make money on that trade. And it's not other than to increase value of everything they have. So they do the arbitrage through asset classes rather than just stay in an asset class. Like from gold to platinum is staying in an asset class, but from silver to a crypto is a change of asset classes, and actually could provide more percentage gains in that other asset class that you could return value into the silver asset class.
Yep. Same as a world class 100 meter sprinter is going to have a different strategy than a world class marathon runner.
Oh, most definitely, yeah.
Right, but both of them
are world class.
Both of them are world class, and both of them are winners.
Exactly.
Right, and so for one of them to rip on the other, may they may feel right in doing that, but I think both can learn from each other.
Well, that's what I'd like to have here. I don't want to promote maximalist thought processes, but more inclusive of other thoughts processes that might benefit your thought process and what you're doing, and more of a knowledge gain exchange type thing. Even though if you want to stick with your asset class, that's cool too. That's where and again, crypto, precious metals, or stocks. I've been telling people about the gold and platinum play. That was the play to make. If you'd made that play 6 weeks ago, you'd have traded in 1 ounce of gold, you'd have got 3 ounces of platinum and 6 ounces of silver. Now, you could trade that back, and with the silver, you'd be able to keep 1 platinum, trade in 2 platinum and the silver, and you'd get 1 gold, meaning you would have profited 1 full ounce of platinum in 6 weeks without spending $1, staying in the same asset class. I bring those relevancies up to the precious metals people. I bring relevancies to the, what's up, Mike? to the crypto people in their realm on how to do things. Gerald actually helps me more with that because I'm not well versed in it. Stocks I do well at. So and then because of Gerald, I'm actually learning more about the crypto thing, and I do see a long-term history repeat in the American economy where we are going to have okay, here's the deal, guys. Okay, I did this video on this Prometheus project, and they're talking about imperialism, and they've been working for 40 or 50 years to end the imperialism here in America, and that a big part of that is getting rid of the Federal Reserve. So everyone who's aboard with getting rid of the Federal Reserve, you should understand that once that happens, it's going to reopen us up to our own financing. And if you look back at history, from 1836 to 1862, the Congress allowed banks to create currency for America. And it was the most prosperous time for the independent American person. If you look at actual time period now, Congress just passed a law allowing financial institutions to create a stable coin. Because of the scenario we're in economically, they mandated that stable coin be backed 1-for-1 with a dollar. So any M2 supply that might be coming back for some hyperinflationary fandango will get eaten up by 13 or 14 financial institutions that have to buy up dollars so they can go into business to create the stable coin. And that's going to be some of the best times for us as independent persons in this country to be able to get high interest rates on savings and very low interest rates on loans, because we will have what's known as competition. And they will be competing, and Congress has already given them the legal right to do so. They're doing it as we speak. And then they come up with this thing, this ISO 222. That's a further acceptance of financial institutions worldwide of the digital marketplace. So I'm learning more about that, and knowing that just in and of itself, then as Jay said and Joel said, if you know about the ISO 222, you know instantly, you don't need to know anything more about crypto than to say, well, I need to look at investing in the ISO compliant ones, because they're going to be the future of crypto, or the biggest part of the future of crypto. Bitcoin might be big, and it might not be big, who knows? But the ISO 222s will be, because they're internationally accepted already and already used mostly. So, oh, hey, Andy, what's up, girl? So, you just got to accept things are changing. We're also going to get a new dollar bill, a new looking dollar bill, to be honest with you. I saw a post on X. I wish I would have. I think I have a picture of the new US $1 bill that we're going to be receiving when our old ones crashes. Similar to the same thing that happened in 1971 when we got a new dollar bill that no one really noticed. This one's going to be more significantly different. But it's going to be a new dollar bill and a new economic system coming. They've been planning it for years, because I've had this picture of the new dollar bill that we'll be using next year for 3.5, 4 years now. It's longer than that, actually. I learned about it about the same time that I learned XLM and Algo signed contracts with the Treasury Department to come up with a digital dollar. So let me see. I can't find the picture right. It's not readily available. I'm looking, scanning my stuff. If you wonder why I'm stopping talking here. Got a lot of pictures, guys. Sorry. And I might not be able to find it. But I do have it on one of my thumbnails. No, I can't. It's not there. I have it on one of my thumbnails. It's a interesting looking dollar. It's got Washington, a full bust of Washington sideways, not up and down.
I heard that Canada's actually coming out with new currency, paper money too. I just did a share screen.
Oh, I'm sorry. Thank you for telling me. I didn't see it.
I just put it up.
Oh, there it is. Yeah. Can you look for the new 1, 5, 10, 20, and 50 American dollar?
I will. I just wanted to let this simmer for a second and see if anyone recognizes the faces on here first.
I was about to ask about those ones, because that's actually highly significant if they put them on the bills. There's reason for that.
So
who's the
that's all Photoshop. That's Ricky, Julian, and Bubbles from Trailer Park Boys.
Oh, okay.
Okay, I let that simmer long enough. I'll look up for the new.
Let's see. How can I look this up?
Okay, Jay got it.
Yeah. Let's see here.
That was hilarious. I actually did a community post on that when it first came out. It was Photoshop. And someone did that, what, about 2 or 3 years ago?
Excuse me.
You want me to keep looking for that, or are you?
I am going to try and steal it from myself. I've never done this, but I'm going to try it, see if it works. If this works, I might have successfully done something I've never done, which is work the computer properly. And we're fixing to find out. Virtual background. Hot damn, I did it. That's it right there.
Okay. Oh, okay. I have seen that.
Yeah, and there's a 5, a 10, a 20, and a 50. I've seen the pictures of. When I got this, it was several years ago, like 4+ years. It was could have been up to 7 years. I actually don't remember how long ago it was, but I thought, oh, how interesting. And I couldn't figure out what was to the left of the one. There's 2 little circle things and what they said, or what that writing on underneath side was, or anything.
Try a different layout in StreamYard to make that bigger.
Oh, okay.
For the audience. There you go. Because that actually looks like it might be polymer.
Yeah,
like that does not look like cotton fiber or the same sort of material.
You know, it's when I got that, I was told it was going to be the new dollar bill in America.
Yeah, that does look familiar. I've seen other people showcase that as well. But I'll caution you guys right now, if it is polymer, that's what we already have here in Canada. They've already switched it. And once they get a little nick in them, they rip really easy, especially once they get a bit of wear on them.
And they're no good when they're ripped.
Yeah, when they're brand new, like people say, yeah, this is great. They're tough. And sure enough, you can't rip them very easily. But like if you take a knife and just put a tiny, even like, a 1/100th of an inch nick in it, and then try it, it'll just tear, like kind of like aluminum foil, right? You can kind of pull on it straight ways. It won't rip easily, but as soon as there's a little tear, boom, it's done. The other thing is if they go through the laundry, like once it goes through the dryer, they'll shrivel up. So they're junk. They're junk.
I don't know what they're made of. I just got that picture and that's what I got. What's up, William?
Plastic. Hey, Magic Moon. Yeah. Life in plastic is not fantastic.
Oh, we'll see. During all changes, there's changes. So they might come out with. And I did a video on the CDBC digital yuan that's already failed in that country and gave the reasons why. So they're coming up with another money. So there's money will change. It always changes. Once we change the dollar, if it's not the right one, it'll change within a couple of years. So it's not going to happen overnight, but in the next 5-10 years, it'll be all worked out. But we can still make money in the in between, and a lot of it.
Yeah. The only banknotes that I really like are the ones that say silver certificate or gold certificate. So if you've got $100 bill, you can trade it in for a 1-ounce platinum coin, or 2 $50 gold eagles.
I see where you're getting the economics on that would put a car. It would drop us back to like 1918 pricing.
Exactly the same pricing we had before they went off the gold standard. So
that'd be hard to digest in the economy, but it would be cool nonetheless.
So my thought on it is tough. If it's hard for them to do that, that's what they should do, because the whole closing of the gold window is supposed to be temporary.
Well, Hold on a second now. I got something to say. I did a video on this as well. America has actually only been on a physical gold standard for 50 of the 250 years, and that was from like 1887, not quite sure on that date, but up to 1933 we were on a 100% pure gold standard. From 1933 till 1971 we were on what's known as a quasi gold standard, which
Sure.
means other countries could take the dollar bill and trade it in for gold, but American citizens could not. So that's not a gold standard.
But this is where the people get screwed, and they didn't realize it.
That's
Is
from
when
1933 to 1971 they got screwed, and now we're getting screwed from 1971 till now. And that
when
all falls in track with the Federal Reserve being started and taking financial control and imperialism taking over our fucking economic system here in America. All falls in line.
here's the thing: when you hold a $1 bill in your hand, most people don't realize they're actually holding debt. That is debt. When you hold a $1 American Silver Eagle in your hand, that's an asset. And so people, even though the currency is widely recognizable, and you can buy stuff with it, it's not an asset, it's debt.
Yeah, but also keep this in mind. Was we have a prototype to look at, or whatever, a petri dish to look at for failing currencies of Zimbabwe.
There you go.
Okay, you know what they're using right now? The U.S. dollar.
I was going to say wheelbarrows.
No, the U.S. dollar. They gave up their economic system and are using the U.S. dollar, and I think it's something. There's two forms of currency. It's either the U.S. dollar and gold, or the U.S. dollar and some other currency. But the U.S. dollar is a currency in Zimbabwe now, at the same value. So what happened there is they went from having a $200 trillion bill at buying so much whatever to a $1 bill buying the same thing. So the conversion that you and I were just talking about actually happened there in price evaluation to currency.
Right now, China and North Korea have massive printing press operations spitting out fake US dollars.
Yeah.
Counterfeit. Government run.
Simon's got his points. He just doesn't. That's why I say you got to go further back in history and see where it all started. Because if you fight in a fight and it's the wrong fight, you're going to lose. Simon's big on same points that I'm on, but he's not understanding of where it actually the start of the problem came from. And if you want to get rid of the problem, you can't keep giving it pills. You got to extract it from its source. And that's the Federal Reserve. And that's why Trump is getting hit so hard by both parties. Because if you look at the Uniparty, which, Republican Democrat Party, and the Democratic Party, and you realize that the imperialistic money took over our whole country with the creation of the unconstitutional Federal Reserve. Another pick another way to point out for the Prometheus Project. They've been on top of this for 40 to 50 years trying to get this information out, and now it's time to get it out. That's the fight that needs to be fought, and Trump is fighting that fight. All this other bullshit is that imperialistic money and control of the different two parties that we have. They're puppets playing to their will, and their will is not the people's will. And that's why our country right now is really fucked up politically. But trust me, as bad as it is, Trump is the one who actually did the one thing that can put us back on track and get us away from the imperialistic financial control of our country, which has determined that we have a Department of Education that teaches our kids how to be girls if they're boys, and fucked up shit. They did that to us. They controlled that. They control it now. It's now being broken. So yeah, there's going to be a hell of chaos. There's going to be a hell of a lot of problems. But in the end, we're going to be so much better off because of it. And during that hell of chaos, as I stated earlier, you can make more money in bad times than you can in good times, folks, if you know what you're doing. And that's why I like talking about how you can make money on bad times. The gold to platinum trade, man, you could have made $1,500 in the past 6 weeks without spending only just owning one gold. And if you'd done my play, you'd still have one gold, but you'd also have one platinum. No money expenditure. So there's ways to increase your wealth more so in bad times, which we're facing. And the bad times are actually good because it's the destruction of the imperialistic financial control of our system. well, our system being America. I mean, if you think about it, look at Korea, Vietnam, everyone calls them wars, misnomenclature. They were not wars. We were used, America was used like Ukraine is being used now as a proxy for a war. America's soldiers and our forces were used as a proxy for the United Nations for the Korean War and the Vietnam War. So I ask you, who made all the money off that war? Oh, they did. Because they controlled our finances so much that they could send us to one of their wars to where they don't have to spend their military, but we do. And the buying and selling of goods and products, you bring in the tariffs, they're making shitloads of money. Now, you bring in the tariffs and reverse it, they're hating life and they're going to come at you from all angles. And the only reason they're coming at you from all angles is because you're doing the right thing. And that's what I feel President Trump is doing right now, with as much bad as coming with him for our base constitutional freedoms and financial freedom from the control of other countries. He's the best judge we got, bro. And yes, Gerald, crypto is a part of his play, brother.
So this is just responding to Jay there. How much is crystallized osmium appreciated? And I noticed they've switched this up. So now there's two different forms. One is crystallized, right here, 2187 per gram, and then there's also this one here, which is what, about half the price? It's exactly half the price, which is high-tech ready osmium. And Long Live Coins and Ian were actually talking a week or two ago live, and I asked, what is this high-tech ready osmium? Because I'd never heard about it, but I guess they didn't see the question in chat.
It's probably their stock that's not been melted and crystallized but ready to be done so, because they're losing their scientist that does that at the end of 2026. And I'm thinking they've got extra stock of highly pure osmium, and that would probably be it, but I'm not sure because I don't know.
Gotcha. I think that's a great guess.
Yeah, that's just off the top of my head. Knowing the business, knowing what's going on, having some insight, that would make sense, though I do not know. Disclaimer, I have no clue.
Yeah. I don't know what this fork and the update really is there, but that's zoomed in going back to around 2017, where it was about 500 a gram.
Now it's 2,000.
Yep, almost 2,200.
It's like I said, and I did this on a video. You can go back and check it a year and a half or so ago. It is averaging about a 15% year over year since inception.
Yeah. I'll drop the link for that in the chat here.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Yes, Chad, he is on the Epstein list. You want to know why? Because they were in the same business realm of real estate, and they crossed paths a lot. And it is quite possible, hear me out now, don't get upset. It is quite possible that there were some people that went to Epstein Island for business purposes and had no clue what was going on. Maybe that's why there was actually dungeons and secret tunnels, entrances to that part, because he was doing business with people that didn't know about that part. That's possible for people to be on there, because I do recall that Trump a long time ago banned fucking Epstein from Mar-a-Lago because he was hitting on a couple of the members' teenage daughters. Yeah. So, maybe Epstein was calling him over for business, wanting to maybe bow and kiss the ring and say, hey, I'm sorry I did that. And he brought him to the business part of the island and not the debauchery part of the island, which was the underground hidden, keyword hidden part, which means he had to have done something on the top part for other business activities that weren't criminal and disgusting, basically.
Debauchery,
thank you.
You're welcome. And don't forget, folks, Epstein was a master of blackmail. That was one of his fortes, and he was a very, very brilliant person.
In that sense, very much so.
Well, he was a math prof. Very, very, very intelligent person. He ran and managed hedge funds. You don't do that without being extraordinarily intelligent. But so I suspect that Trump was one of the people that they targeted. Yep, Mossad targeted, to be
Bingo.
blackmailed. And they may very well have got him on some levels of blackmail, but I think he realized, and didn't.
I think he knew. I think he knew what he was. I don't think Trump knew he was a child part, but I think he knows he was an operative because the Trump family knows a lot, quite a bit. The Trump family, Trump's uncle is the one responsible for putting Herbert Walker George Bush into the on the pathway that he took to have all the power he had when he was vice president. So you're looking at the nephew of the kingmaker. They know a lot of things.
Yeah.
And actually, if you think about it, that's actually status quo for infiltration and information gathering. The U.S. actually even does that too. Well, not anymore. We have morals now, apparently. But we used to do it. In World War II, we did it a lot. We used females to have sex with people for information. What's the difference of Epstein Island? Instead of having to control every one of the girls to get them to get the information with people, you have one guy control all the girls and get the information from the other guys. It's just a step up from the same thing the English were doing it in World War II. Americans were doing it in World War II. So we assembled the government of Israel after World War II. So why wouldn't they do it? They're not subject to our rules. And also, if you do any research, we actually use that perspective of having Israel around, and it actually financially benefits us. I remember a case when the F-16 first came out. We didn't have like an internal side view mirror. And because of the rules and regulations and the laws, to be able to put a side view, just stick one up there, it would cost hundreds of millions of dollars, research, development, and all this other crap. So it was cheaper for us to sell a couple of them to Israel. Israel just fucking strapped one on the way you do on an airplane, and it worked. And because of the laws, we were able to buy it back. And because it was improved technology, we were able to just add it to the F-16, saving us hundreds of millions of tax dollars. So there is that way to look at things too, if you know that exists. So there are countries out there you use for that purpose. Israel's one of them. So why wouldn't they come up with a dude that's a fucking sex trafficker and a blackmail specialist? Yeah. What's the best way to get guys to talk and leave their wives and get dirt on them? Sex. Hello.
So I dropped the link in there for Deplorable, who is just asking, my source on that. Yeah, Jeffro, I saw that as well. But I can also tell you it was a year or so ago that there were reports of people. Okay, so there's lots of people in Canada. I'm in Canada. Lots of Chinese people here, lots of Asians, lots of people from India, all like very, very multicultural here now. But there were reports of Chinese people, that are here on a work visa or whatever the case may be. They're here for long periods of time. They go back to China and visit, and then they come back here. And they've got all of this fake U.S. currency. And the way they got caught was some of them started depositing it in their banks here, and they got caught. Had they just brought it over and just been spending it at retail outlets or whatever, they probably wouldn't have got caught so quick. But there was several people that I believe went to jail. They were certainly arrested.
Oh no! If you're dealing with counterfeit bills, there is a statistic out there. If you're going to do a crime, murder someone. Don't steal money, because you do less time for murder than you do stealing money.
So now what these Chinese people were saying was that currency that was counterfeit came directly from their bank in China. So when they were, coming up with preparing to come over here, they go to their bank and they want to have, maybe 10 grand in spending cash that they're going to convert before coming over. And so, they go to their bank. They're like, yeah, let's take 10 grand Canadian currency. We're going to Canada. And it was the bank. The bank was issuing fake Canadian currency.
Okay, you have a misunderstanding. It wasn't the bank, because they don't have banks over there. They have CCP. That's all. Everything is CCP. If it's labeled a bank, It's a branch of the CCP economics, and it's called a bank for us to recognize as a bank and do legitimate business with. But it's actually part of the government. It's not a bank. Banks are separate from a government. What would we call a? Oh, hold on, wait. We call the Federal Reserve a bank. Is it a bank? No. Okay. Well, that's the Chinese bank.
It's a
Federal
central
Reserve.
bank. Yeah, I hear what you're saying. It's all government controlled.
100%.
So yeah, so fair enough. But like here, there is a bank. It's called the Hong Kong Bank of Canada.
Look at ownership. Names are nothing. Look ownership.
It's public. It's a public company.
Well, then, if it's on your trading thing, then it made it through your government's whatever, and they don't recognize the CCP's non-differential from private and public ownership, because nothing is privately owned in China. Nothing. Under the CCP control, nothing is. In China, before 1947, yeah, you had private control of land and all this other shit. After they took over, everything is CCP. There's nothing. You don't have private anything. The house they buy belongs to the people they bought it from. That's communism. So when you buy a house for $200,000, you're buying it from the government that stole the money from you to build that house. Yeah, go CCP, go communism. It's like works till you run out of other people's money.
Yeah, I'm getting an education here with people fact checking me. But so, yeah,
I guess they quit fact checking me. That's because I hit a hit of weed. It wasn't allowed. I'm trying to hold it a hit and talk.
Oh my God.
I shouldn't do that. It leads to coughing. Woo! What a hit.
Let's see.
Babango. That's Postal Savings Bank. Yeah, that way they get who you're sending the money to and where you're depositing it. They control the postal service and the money. So yeah, if the counterfeits came from the Chinese bank or the Chinese government, that's what and I've said this a couple times online. We're in an economic World War III. Everyone's talking about World War III. Wars take place in several dimensions. One of them is on the battlefield. One of them is in a courthouse. The other one is economics. The other one is cyber attacks and cyber warfare. Everyone thinks World War III is a physical confrontation. Nah, it's a financial confrontation.
And psychological too.
That's always part of financing, bro. You got to freak the other guy out.
One of my favorite memes was a picture of a horse who's got a halter on, which is kind of like a bridle or a collar, but it's called a bridle. Sorry, a halter. And it's tied to a chair, like a typical kitchen chair. And there that horse is standing there. And it just said, mind controls the body. Right?
Yeah.
The horse could easily pull that chair somewhere away, but someone has taught that horse when you're tied to the chair, you stay there.
And it's kind of like, hold on, let me see.
Hey, Hoppin.
Yeah, indeed. Hello, Hoppin. It's kind of like that, except you're a Democrat. You're not really chained, but you're still staying there anyhow.
Yeah. And probably looking the wrong way. And
I was going to mention that one too.
Yeah. And ingesting the wrong type of information.
Yeah, it's probably, what is that? The Washington Herald or something.
You know, we should actually take that picture, buddy, and
doodle it up a little bit.
Some AI.
Yeah.
Have Bugs Bunny run across the train tracks and then have Wile E. Coyote come over, and then both the coyote and this guy in the chair can get smoked by the train.
That sounds like a winner, bro.
I might work on that.
I would. That sounds like I would use that as a picture, bro. I throw up a lot of cool pictures. What I think's cool, anyhow. No offense to anyone else. It's what I think's cool is what I'm going to throw up.
Did you notice that StreamYard removed all of your little video clips that you can play?
I most certainly did. I was trying that at this one, I was trying to do the osmium, crystallized osmium 30-second commercial you did for me, and it wouldn't let me play it. I was like, mother. I know I had to upgrade to a new free system. That's what it was.
That's right. That really ticked me off. I figured that out on Monday is when I first realized it.
Yeah, I didn't upgrade. Once I get a job, I'll buy, the package the year round because I'll be doing quite a bit of streams, longer than 20 hours in 1 month. Anyhow.
Yeah, I don't like that type of tactic because, like on the free plan, I thought the whole deal was you're on the free plan and they get to blast their powered by StreamYard with the duck there in the top right hand corner
Yeah.
through every single second of your live stream. That's
Yep.
free advertising,
Yep.
and they're not compensating you for that.
Well, see, and that pays for the free, but to the business model, that only is applicable until you get a certain market share, and then it's actually not as cost effective to do it that way, and you have to change and adjust for your growth. It's like growing pains. A lot of companies, well, not a lot. There are companies that make wrong moves as they grow and turn off consumers because of the wrong move they made during their growth period. And this is a company that's growing, and the same thing will happen. And
Yeah.
and just as you said, you got kind of turned off by it. I mean, I kind of sort of did, but I'm not real pleased with Restream because they keep changing, and I'm totally lost on that one. Every time I go on, it's different. It's like, holy fuck, man, I don't have time for this. I need it to be somewhat the same, at least for 6 months. Okay. It changes
right.
every week. It's like, damn, I can't. I don't have the time to learn it new again every week.
Yeah. It's neat.
But I'm also a dumbass, so
I think you picked it up pretty quick. You learned, I'd say just as fast, if not faster, than the average person. So, just a matter of having that extra time and patience and working through it. You'll figure it out.
yeah, eventually it'll pay off.
They both have their benefits. Like I like Restream better for some reasons. It's where they have Restream. It's about the same size as the StreamYard text there, but there's no duck, and it doesn't take up nearly as much real estate on the screen.
Yeah.
So, like, I do like that better, but yeah, they're starting to use a little bit more aggressive tactics to get people to be paying them directly. But I didn't mean to switch the subject. I just thought since
No, there's no switching. That's what we do. We talk about different shit, man. There's no apologizing for it. Talk about whatever comes up. And we have the crowd fact check us, and we all learn something.
Do you like seafood? Do you eat seafood?
Dude, when I was in Italy in second grade, the waters there are so amazing, man. It's so beautiful. I suggest you ever get an opportunity to travel to Sardinia or Santa Teresa, go to Sardinia. If you go to Sardinia, go to Santa Teresa. So I would say because the island Sardinia, it's in the north part anyhow. The waters there are so clear you can see like 30 foot, and they have the old Italian fishermen's docks separate from, like in Palau, and this happened in Palau. They had it separate from the ferry dock, and it's a lot shallower, but it's still clear water, and it's kind of like reefy, rocky. And we were waiting for the ferry one day, and I was in second grade, and I saw an octopus in the shallow area where the Italian fishermen brought their smaller boats, and I saw, oddly enough, a red-headed, red-bearded Italian guy. I was thinking, wow, he looks Irish, but he didn't speak English. It blew me away. And I knew enough Italian to communicate with him that I saw an octopus, and I wanted his trident because he had a trident that could reach down there and get it. And there was no way in hell he was going to give me a fucking sharp stick. So I finally got across to him that it was an octopus there. He got really excited, jabbed it for me, took the spear off of it where the octopus was, threw me on the shoulders, walked into Pablo's bar, showed Pablo that I had just got them an octopus. So I love seafood.
Nice. I was going to tell you what I had for lunch.
Oh, sweet. What did you have?
Last night I pulled a steelhead trout fillet, a nice big one, out of the deep freezer and thawed it in the fridge overnight. And then put it on a cookie sheet and basted it with pure Canadian maple syrup,
Nice.
Worcestershire sauce, Montreal steak spice, and lemon juice, and some garlic.
Nice.
And then I broiled that sucker for 2.5 minutes, which is, the top element, like grill. And then cooked it at 350 for 10 minutes. I thought it would be done. It wasn't quite done, so I had to put it back in for another 2 minutes. But man, was that awesome. That's what I had for lunch. Steelhead trout.
Nice. Very, very nice.
It's the first time I'd done that in a long time.
Yeah, my first bar party that I threw was I was in second grade.
Your first bar party?
Yeah, because bringing that octopus into the bar, Pablo knew who I was because our family was back and forth to the American island on the ferry all the time, school and commissary and whatever. So he knew who I was, and he gave everyone a round of beer or whatever they were drinking on the house. Called his wife out because they had a cook area in the back. She got really excited for the fresh octopus. She went back there and cooked up fresh calamari, and I fed everyone and got them all a free drink of alcohol. And I was in second grade. I consider that a bar party.
Nice.
I started out life right, man.
Yeah. Nicely done. Hey, man, I got to get flying here. I got to take these little dogs out for a walk.
Right on, my brother. Thank you very much for showing up, especially helping me with that palladium chart. That was a freaky thing.
Yeah, I was like, oh, I know. Because as soon as the question was asked, how's palladium doing, I looked it up and I'm like, oh, this is no good. Then you went and pulled the chart up and I'm like, oh, man. So, okay, I'm glad we got that all
Worked out. Yeah, for real.
Calibrated. And I hope everybody has a great evening. I'm sure I'll see you all soon.
Right on. Thank you for showing up. Appreciate it, brother. Have a great night. Uh-oh. I got Spot up here with me. If you hear any little kitty cat meow, it's Spot. I was going to ask him to, but he's probably going to. He does do dog walking, and part of during the dog walking, obviously the best time to do the video, and he should put out as much content as possible of that because it's 2 for 1. Getting paid to walk the dog, and your YouTube channel will grow doing the dog walking videos that you're getting paid to do. It would be perfect. So I'm sure he's going to take advantage of that. I've never done that, Mike. I've never gone after squid. Octopus, yes. Squid, no. Sea urchins, clams, sardines. Oh, God. There's a French technique of cooking whole sardines. It's the easiest thing ever. You take the sardines out of the Mediterranean Sea. You batter them with whatever type of batter you want. You fry them for about maybe a minute, and then you eat them like French fries. Guts, all bones, everything. It's a old French technique of making it. Actually, pretty good. Like Ninja on his tricycle. I like when he does that crazy shit. I don't get a kick out of it. Oh, by the way, I don't know if you guys heard, but Ninja, when I get down to the Alabama, Florida area and start my lightning crystal thing, on the 3rd strike, he's going to come down and do a live stream on it to help me promote getting scientists down there to do science on lightning strikes. But I want to dress up like Doc Brown and have him dress up like Marty and recreate Back to the Future lightning strike to start that video off. I still have to talk with him about it, and before that even happens, I've got to move down there and get the lightning thing going. But then I'll be able to talk to him about it, and I'm almost positive he'll go for it. So we'll do a recreation of the Doc Brown and Marty when they hopped in the DeLorean for the first lightning strike. Just to make it humorous. That's right. Exactly 88 miles per hour. I'm going to be the crazy guy with the white suit on and the hair all over the place. And Ninja will be Marty. Spot, No, baby, I love you, but you gotta get down. Hold on, let me let everyone know what kind of trouble you are. Hold on. This one guy here, being a poopy head, and won't get off my lap. He won't get off my lap. What do you guys think? You think I should let him off the lap? I put him up twice. He keeps jumping back on. This is Spot. Because he's got a single spot right here. No, I'm not playing with you. I'm showing your spot. That spot right there is the only spot on his back other than his ears. So easy to remember. His name is Spot. Because he's got a brother that looks very similar. Where's your brother? He's got a lot of brothers and sisters that don't look similar too. But there's two white ones. Yeah, he's a sweetie. But anyhow, that's what I'm dealing with right now. If you're wondering why I'm telling him not to jump up, he's jumping up on me. That part we might have to do like a Pinto or something. We'll do something funny. Don't have to do a DeLorean. Need to keep it funny all the way through. DeLorean would be actually hard to get a hold of nowadays. Oh, interesting. I haven't seen one in a long time. I was just thinking about it going, wow, I wonder if there are even any out there that are for sale. Actually, I guess we can do a quick Google search. Holy shit. Yes, there are DeLoreans currently for sale. DeLorean dealers. Oh, let me go and share this. Actually, there's quite a few. I never realized. This here, 1981 is for 59,000, 36,000, 52,000, 84,000, 59,000. Inquiry auction 84,000. Unsold 25. Yeah, that's not it. 67,000, 87,000. Yeah, you know what? We're gonna use a Pinto. I can get a Pinto for about $400. I can get a Yugo for $300, but probably two. You guys remember what the Yugo is? Is that Czechoslovakian car? Or is it two-seater? I think it was a three-cylinder engine. I think it was. It was like totally not cool for America's uses. It started out at a couple $1,000s and within 12 months went down to $300 a car. Nice. Yeah, if you see one around, apparently they're as expensive as new fucking trucks, bro. 1981 vehicles. Now tell me a car cannot be used as an asset class. Because I'm sure the original starting price of the DeLorean was like in the high teens, low 20s. And I didn't see one cheaper than 59,000. So they've gained over 100% value in 45 years. I mean, it's not the best by no means. It's still, if you like it, you like driving around, want to keep it nice. It's not a liability. It's an asset over time. Certain cars apparently are, if you get the right car. I mean, the Pinto obviously wouldn't have been the right car to pick as an asset class because it went down in value. And if you keep and maintain a well-maintained car, you're not going to spend that much money on it because a well-maintained car means after 150,000 miles, whether you need it or not, you change the timing chain or belt so that it doesn't go bad and cost you even more money. You do preventative maintenance on a time period and scale that's supposed to be done on. Most people don't do that. At least most people I know don't do that. I don't do that, but I got a piece of shit car. Was it 1.1 liter? Yeah, and it was what, 3,900. Yeah, it was real cheap. literally and figuratively cheap. But it got you around, man. You can handle being laughed at. I wouldn't go pick up a date in it. That's what this channel's about, brother. I didn't even know about that. Really? So the Pinto's actually gaining value. Wow. I knew a kid, there's the locksmith's son. He had a Pinto and he souped it up, raised the back end, put the bigger tires in the back, souped up the engine as much as possible, did all kinds of shit. Didn't really help the car. It made it look funny. But the funniest thing he ever did to that car was the reverse lights, because he'd had a toggle switch where he could just throw the toggle switch up and the reverse lights would come on. So what he'd do is he'd rev up the car engine, start peeling out the tires, and then he'd throw on that toggle switch as he was in drive, making people think he was going in reverse with his wheels, peeling rubber. He never saw so much fucking fun action. Oh gosh, it's a bad thing to do, but we were in the South and it was fun. What the hell? Yeah, they were definitely disposable. There was a bad design with the freaking tank in the trunk. Shit. You hit in the rear, it turns into a fireball. Anyhow, I'm going to go ahead and end this stream. I got some other stuff I have to do. I appreciate very highly everyone showing up. Thank you for all the interactions. I'm glad knowledge was passed and knowledge was included in other people's perspectives. I love that. It means the show was worthwhile. The only thing else that would please me more is someone saying they made money off of one of the picks I told them about that I could not take advantage of. Then I hope somebody else does. Yes, 79 again at the end, the very end. You show up. I am taking off. And 79 shows up. So instead of banning her, I'm going to ban myself. 79, your wish is coming true. I'm going to ban myself. You guys have a nice week.